Welcome to Daily English Homework. Let's take a look at the homework. It says add 13 commas to this paragraph. We can see this large paragraph. Your homework is to add 13 commas. This paragraph used to have 13 commas. This paragraph needs 13 commas, but I took them out. Okay, I took out all the commas. And your homework will be to add the commas back in. Now, in this lesson, I'm going to teach 13 different ways on how to use commas, when to use commas. This is a very important lesson because I'm going to make you experts on how to use commas. So please keep watching this video. And by the end of this video, this homework will be easy because you know everything about commas. You can find this paragraph in the description of the video. Copy it, add the commas, and then post your homework in the comment section, and I will check it. There is no deadline for this homework, so I do not care if you're watching this video when I first released it, or 1 year later, 2 years later. Whenever you're watching this video, do the homework. Please participate. And I don't care who you are. It's open. It's free to everyone. Copy this paragraph. Add the commas. Post it. I will check it. I would prefer you watch the video first because people who watch the video usually have perfect homework. And people who just do the homework, they got too many mistakes. So if you have too many mistakes, I'll probably say, please watch the video again. All right, let's get into it. What is a comma? This mark, punctuation mark, is a comma. It is important. It is essential for writing. You need to know how to use it. And lucky for you, I'm going to teach all the ways, not all the ways, but all the important ways in this video. Let's take a look at my notes. A period ends a sentence. Okay, so this video is not about periods, but you can see here I made all my periods red, all my commas blue in this lesson. The function of a period here is to end the sentence. Commas do not end a sentence, okay? A comma is a punctuation mark that separates words, clauses, or ideas within a sentence. So it can separate words in lists. I'll talk about that. Clauses. Oh, what is a clause? Clause is like, one clause is like a sentence, a piece of information, and another clause is another piece of information. And sometimes we need to connect two pieces of information in a sentence, in one sentence. There will probably be a comma involved, or your ideas. Well, I'm going to talk about all of this in this lesson. Let's keep going. Use a comma with conjunctions. This is the first main way to use a comma. Conjunctions. Conjunctions are those words and, but, so. They need commas. Not always. There are some cases we use them with commas, and there's some cases we don't use them with commas. I'm not going to go into that much detail, but I'm going to show you the cases we do use them with commas. So let's take a look at our first sentence. He walked down the street, and then he turned the corner. Our conjunction "and" here is helping us to connect the two pieces of information, the two clauses. So he walked down the street. That could be one sentence. That's one piece of information. That could be one sentence. He turned the corner. That could be another sentence. He walked down the street. He turned the corner. That's okay to write two sentences, but we can connect these sentences because it'll sound better and the information is related to each other. So yeah, let's use "and." And then he turned the corner. Let's use a comma there. Helps us connect these two sentences. Albert can speak English, but he cannot understand it well. If we have but in our pronoun here, we use a comma to connect. Can't speak English, and then he cannot understand it well, or he can speak English, cannot understand well. Of course, but is using it when this information and this information doesn't match for some reason. Now look at this sentence. I went to bed early because I was feeling tired. We have because. Because doesn't need a comma. So a lot of students think, oh, these conjunctions all need the comma. In this case, because doesn't need a comma. All right, you don't need to write, if because is in the middle of a sentence, don't use a comma. But, same sentence, but we're gonna change the order of the clauses. We're gonna start with because. And now this is for my student Layla, who's always asking me, can I start a sentence with because? I usually say no, but yes, we can start a sentence with because. Now, I usually tell my students don't start a sentence with because a lot of them forget this comma. And I'm telling you, if you start a sentence with because, there better be a comma there. So, because I was feeling tired, comma, I went to bed early. If you're writing an essay, I would say try not to start a sentence with because, but it is okay to start a sentence with because, and please do practice it. Did John study in England, the US, or Sweden? So we have a list here. England, US, Sweden, 3 countries. It's a list. And in this case, we're not using and, we're just going to use or. And I'm going to talk about lists later. But in this case, although there's or, we don't always use or with a comma, but certainly in a list situation, yeah, we should use commas here. And notice with the US, I put this period mark and this mark, comma. So that's how you use it. Although Carol worked hard, she didn't make much money. I'm starting with although, but I could change the order. I could say Carol didn't make money, although she worked hard. But in this case, I wanted to start with although. I need a comma. And with conditionals. If I study harder, I will improve my score. All right. So if you're starting with if, we need a comma. We need that comma. All right, let's go on to the second usage. Use a comma after an introductory clause or phrase. Introductory means the beginning of the sentence. And usually this is a time expression. It's talking about time. Yes, time. So let's take a look at our example. Before eating. All right, so we're talking about time. There's eating. We're before eating, comma. So any sort of time expression here, comma. Now, there are, you're going to read books or articles where some authors do not put commas, but I think it's good for you, and I think it's better writing, and it's better to be understood. If you start a sentence with a time expression, use a comma. So before eating, I washed my hands. So of course you can say I washed my hands before eating. We wouldn't use a comma. So this is for an introductory, the beginning of a sentence. After the show, I went home. After the show, time expression, I went home. So we have this comma. Last night, I met my friend. So last night, time expression, comma, I met my friend. And again, if you said I met my friend last night, no comma. These days, I study English a lot. These days, comma. Since I was 6 years old, this is a time expression, comma. I like to eat ice cream. All right, so any sort of time expression, comma, in the beginning of a sentence. Number 3, very important, and this one I think is where a lot of my students get confused about commas. Use a comma to add extra information into the sentence. Now we have a sentence here. Let's move it down a little bit. The video was sadly very long. Now, if I just wrote, the video was very long, that makes sense. That's a sentence. The video was very long. But I want to insert some extra information into this sentence. So I added my emotion, sadly, very long. And when I insert this information, I have comma, comma. All right? The video was sadly very long. Let's look at another example. John, the best pilot in the world, was in a plane crash. Again, did I add this information correctly? Well, John was in a plane crash. That sentence makes sense. So I want to add some extra information about John. So, comma, comma. Instagram, a famous social media platform, is used by a lot of young people. So again, I'm inserting this information. If I take it out, does the sentence still make sense? Instagram is used by a lot of young people. That is still a sentence that makes sense grammatically. So I did this correctly. I went to the cafe which Anna Maria recommended last night. Which, if you see a which, there's probably going to be a comma. So yeah, my friend Anna Maria recommended this cafe. So did I do this correctly? I went, oops. If I take this out, I went to the cafe last night. That sentence is correct. I added this extra information. Now it's okay. Last week, when it was raining, I went to the park. So again, if I take that out, last week always needs a comma. Last week is a time expression. I went to the park. That makes sense. So last week, when it was raining, I went to the park. So inserting or adding some extra information in the sentence, you need 2 commas. One here, one here. Use a comma, here, I'm trying to get that on the same page. Use a comma with question tags. I'm not going to teach question tags in this video. I will do that in another video, but with question tags, you are happy, aren't you? There's a comma. She likes shopping, doesn't she? There's a comma. We need that comma with question tags. Very important when calling or referring to someone, a person, when calling someone's name. So the first example, Robin, you're calling me. Robin, can you help me? We're going to use a comma. Robin, comma, can you help me? My mother, Diane, is a good person. So this is actually going back to extra information, because if I take that out, my mother is a good person. But I wanted to add her name, and when we add the name, yeah, we should have commas. My mother, Diane, is a good person. Let's look at this sentence. I am going to eat grandma. Now, this sentence means you are going to eat your grandmother. So this is a good sentence to show the importance of a comma. So let's go up here. Let's copy a comma and put it there. Now the sentence is very different. I am going to eat. And then you're talking to your grandma. I'm going to eat, grandma. Not, I'm going to eat, grandma. So that comma you're talking to is very important to tell us you're talking to your grandma. So that is the same. You could put grandma, the person, at the end, or you can put it at the beginning. So if we said, grandma, I'm going to eat, they mean the same thing. You can put it at the end or the beginning, but certainly if you don't have a comma there, you're going to eat, grandma. You don't want to say that. I'm going to eat, grandma. Commas are important. All right, number 6, use a comma with dates. Here's a date, June 18th, comma, 2022. We have a day, date, and year. It is Saturday, comma, July 9th, comma, 2022. That's how we use it with dates. This will be very important for your homework. Use a comma with places. So I live in Seoul, South Korea, city, country, 2 places separated by a comma. I grew up in Edmonton, city, comma, Alberta. Alberta is the province, but 2 places separated by comma. If I wanted to also put the country, Canada, comma. I grew up Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, comma, comma, comma. That's how we separate with places. Use a comma with to. I love you too. So whenever you use to, you should have a comma, always. And here we inserted it like extra information. I too like bananas. So wherever you use to, use a comma. So you could say I like bananas too, or you could say I too like bananas. And of course, use commas in lists. Very common. So my first sentence, please clean your room and take out the trash. Now, with 2 items in the list, 2 actions in the list, we use and or, but for this example, and. For 2 items, we don't use a comma. But 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items or actions, yes, we need a comma. Please clean your room, comma, take out the trash, comma, and vacuum the living room, comma. We need the commas. Now, notice I have a comma here before and. Some teachers don't care, but I do care. I think it is better writing if you put the comma, always put the comma before and. So let's take a look at another example. I like pizza, comma, cake, comma, ice cream, comma, chocolate, comma, hamburgers, comma. Here's our and, here's our comma. This is the best way to do it, and cookies. This is a list with commas, the comma also before and. This is exactly how I want you to write it. Yeah, if I take it out. So I'm using Google Docs. It doesn't show it as a mistake if I have no comma, but it also doesn't show it as a mistake if I do put a comma. But I think better writing is to use that comma. Use a comma before or after direct quotations. Quotation, someone's talking, so we use quotation marks to show someone is talking. Esther said, here's our quotation marks. This is what she said, capital D, period. This is the sentence. Do your grammar homework. All right, so this is what she said. So Esther said, comma, do your grammar homework, and the period is inside the quotation marks. And the student said, I will do my homework. The student said. So quotation, quotation. The comma is inside the quotation mark. The student said, period. So this is how you write speech when people are talking. And certainly this comma is very important. Use a comma in numbers. Here's a large number. We would never write a number like that. I see some countries use these periods here. In English, we don't use periods. They must be a comma. So this is how we would write a large number. Every 3, a comma. It must be written this way in English. You cannot. This is incorrect in English, so we do not use it this way. Use a comma for big numbers. Every 3, put a comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. After yes or no. Do you like to work? Yes, comma. I do. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Are you hungry? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. So use that comma if you're giving a reply with yes or no. And the last way, we're almost finished, transition words and sequence adverbs. Okay, so we know conjunctions are words we put in the middle of the sentence to connect two sentences or two clauses, two pieces of information into one sentence. Transition words, sequence adverbs are another way, another strategy to connect sentences without making them one sentence. So we're going to keep them as 2 sentences, but we're going to use these words to show these 2 sentences are connected in some way. So let's look at these sequence. Sequence means, like first, second, third. And whenever you use sequence adverbs, use a comma. So I have a quick cooking instructions here. First, boil water. Second, add noodles. Then add an egg. Finally, eat it. All right. This is very quick instructions. First, second, then, finally, commas after the words. You could also use this in an essay. First, my argument. Second, then, finally. I can't afford a dog. Moreover, my landlord doesn't allow pets in the apartments. All right, so moreover is like a very strong also, more formal, more academic also, but moreover, it's a great word to use, especially in your essays. So I can't afford a dog, period. That sentence is finished, but I want to give more information. I'm going to use moreover. Moreover, comma, my landlord doesn't allow pets in the apartments. I like that sweater, however, it only comes in one color. So with this, however, I have a comma here. Now, a lot of you might be focused over here on this semicolon. Hey, Robin, when do we use a semicolon? Well, with however is one place, but this video is about commas. I'll talk about semicolons in another video. All you need to know is however is a good transition word. Use a comma. In conclusion, so for your essay, if you use in conclusion, comma. So in conclusion, use commas with transition words. Very important for writing, especially essays. All right, let's get back to the homework. We know everything about commas, right? We know exactly when and how to use commas. So again, go to the description of this video, copy this paragraph with your new knowledge, read through it, add the commas, post it in the comments section, and I will give you feedback. Before I go, there's one last thing, and this is very important because this last thing will tell me that you watched this video. Because there's a big mistake students make. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Let's choose an easy sentence. All right, no, okay, no. All right, no. All right, I'll just use this one. After the show, I went home. When you're using commas, there is no space. No space. Never is there a space. The comma is directly after the word. There is no space. So if I'm checking homework and I see some people write that, I know they didn't watch to the end of this video because that is critical, important information. So please, whenever you write a comma, never have a space. It must be connected. All right? So please, do your homework. Impress me with your comma knowledge and add 13 commas where they are needed. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your homework.